Hey guys, I'm Jesse,
And Merrick?
and today we're talking about something that's really near and dear to my heart. You know, it's one of my favorite topics. 90s horror, man. 90s horror. So, what are your thoughts going in there?
Well, I honestly don't know what to expect. Because there was because the 90s, at least in my opinion, is probably like a unique decade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's honestly hard to to describe how unique that decade really is. I mean, you have a bunch of films right out of the bat. When you think of the 90s, well, when someone tells me what defines the 90s, I pretty much say to them something like the Nintendo 64,
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park, Space Jam. Yes, especially emphasis on Space Jam.
To start us off, you have to understand. You need to understand. Horror was dying in the 90s. It was in the ground already. It was ready to get buried and whatever.
It was more or less dying off.
Yeah.
Though there are a rare few exceptions that they're trying to keep this afloat.
You know, I think you're going to talk about him later.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yeah.
And Interview with a Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And those are good.
Well,
but
one of them is better than the other. I'll go over that later.
They were generally well received, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. But they were the rare exception. I think thinking about 90s horror as a person, again, that's dying on the deathbed, those two films are the last kick, the last energy, the last
yeah, I mean,
before he starts wheezing and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much. They were those films are the ones that are really close to the finish line, but they just can't reach it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and it shows because
the death throes. There we go. That's the word I was looking for.
There we go. Yeah,
death throes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's pretty much the very definition of what a vampire film is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's pretty much references to gothic horror. There's also and it pretty much harkens back to classic vampire films. And I would also argue maybe 70s 80s films pretty much the films starring Christopher Lee.
He's the villain, obviously.
Yes,
but he's also kind of the Byronic hero, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard about that archetype.
Perhaps I could give me a refresher.
It's like the tragic hero. He's not your traditional hero. He's not. He's a hero, in the sense that he's the main protagonist of his story. Usually, it's a more sophisticated anti-villain. Anti-hero. Sorry.
Oh.
So, yeah. He's a bit more selfish than the traditional hero.
But his actions are warranted.
They usually stem from a great suffering, and that makes you sympathize with him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he's the Byronic hero.
Yeah.
And we almost don't see that nowadays. You know what I mean?
It's rare.
Or even back then in the 90s. You know what I
it's
mean?
rare for a hero for a protagonist to encompass that particular archetype.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing it on display in Bram Stoker's Dracula is more or less a godsend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Gary Oldman does magic with his role.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Man.
He really is. He sells the Dracula to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so basically whenever I think of Draculas throughout the years, I'll think of Bela Lugosi, Christopher Lee, and now Gary Oldman. Mm-hmm. And though that's not to say the Bram Stoker's Dracula didn't have any problems. Though I mean the one thing where I have a legitimate problem with is Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel he's not a bad actor. He is not.
No, he's a great actor. He's a great actor,
but I feel that he's a little miscast in this film.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean,
you're not really talking bad about him.
No, it feels a little misplaced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
I mean, I mean, you have to keep in mind, before this role, he was in like a Bill and Ted, he was also in Speed, and he was on his way and he's on his way to the Matrix stardom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, so forgive me, if I feel that he's a little misplaced.
No, I think it's fine. You know, I mean.
Yeah, but I feel that Bram Stoker's Dracula is kind of like a hybrid between a classic and modern vampires.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It is, yeah.
And that's what I love about the film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Interview with a Vampire, on the other hand.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, I actually watched this for the first time just for this discussion video. So, yeah, I'm a little late to the party, and I kind of wish. Oh, go ahead.
You guys have to understand, I almost didn't let him do it. We got into this huge argument, because I feel even though Interview with the Vampire has horror elements, it's more like a drama.
Pretty much,
which
yeah.
is but it's debatable. It's debatable. We came to that agreement. We're gonna agree to disagree. So,
I feel that Interview with the Vampire is a unique take of vampires, I guess. It certainly isn't something. It certainly isn't a film that I haven't seen.
It's okay. it's a drama.
It's a drama. Yeah. It's a pretty good drama.
It's a good drama, but
in terms of horror, I feel that it's not that good.
You know, I never like when I feel sorry for the villain. That's the issue I had with Avengers Infinity War. Is I felt bad for Thanos. It's when you feel bad for the villain, he kind of.
It kind of takes away
the intimidation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There is a way you can do it that works, but it's hard. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that a lot of people don't pull it off. I feel like Interview with a Vampire didn't pull it off.
Yeah, it's one of those films.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the characters are great.
Yeah. And the acting's actually pretty good too.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though I guess that it helps when you have big stars Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and Antonio Banderas. When I first saw them, it kind of blew my mind a little. How? But at the same time, it kind of takes me out of believing these characters because of how much star power these
how
these actors have.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Even
Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst. There we go. Yeah, even that kind of took me out of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So so in terms of believability, it's honestly unbelievable that these actors all came together just to make a vampire film.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I get the feeling that that the film is kind of low key, there's something going on. There's something going on between Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, man.
What are you trying to tell?
Well,
what are you trying to?
I feel that there's a bit of gay undertones.
Really?
Yeah, I mean both there's scenes together with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and you can see
okay, yeah. Now that you said it, I can't unsee it. You know what I mean? Now
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's I wouldn't be surprised if there's fan fictions in between them. All right, and I have no problem with that. I don't.
I saw this as a kid, long time ago. So when you said that, I'm like, really? And the more I thought about it, okay.
No, there's supposed to be there's supposed to be Transylvania's Next Top Model.
But if you see a lot of artwork, that new show Castlevania.
Oh yeah.
Alucard, he has a really feminine kind of.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. So
so that's why I didn't mind that because because there are vampires that are like that. Mm-hmm. Not Edward Cullen levels of But regardless.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So those were the minority. Again, horror was in the trash, man.
Yeah,
it was already
it was clear. It was honestly clear with an Interview with a Vampire. It was struggling. It was more a drama than horror.
It was in the trash. It was dead.
Pretty much.
But then a film came
and
that changed everything.
Much like Frankenstein,
the jaws of life, man.
Much like Frankenstein's monster, bringing this a creature to life. trying to like revitalize like a dying genre. Lo and behold, the savior of horror has descended upon us.
Scream, man. Scream changed everything, man.
It changed the game.
Oh my god, dude! Like you have to understand, it literally brought horror back to life. You know, and we've been talking about Scream before, man. You know, I'm a sucker for whodunits, but you know, not only is this a whodunit, but it's one done right, and it's one that really has fun. You know,
definitely.
Yeah, Wes Craven was like having fun the whole time.
Yeah, and it also broke like tropes as well.
Yeah, like we mentioned it before, the bimbo character.
Yeah, there's all
the hot chick, but she's dumb.
The popular one.
You know, there's actually a funny point I want to make.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that they're at the party and like Randy, who is the nerd, is basically explaining like all the rules of like horror. You know, you can't have sex, you can't drink, you can't, you know, smoke, you can't do drugs, because all those are like sins, and you know,
they're more.
It goes back, you know, like, you know what I mean. Like, I'm not saying those are actually sins, you know. I mean,
they're more like tropes.
It's personal, but like to each your own. But the point is, when films were originally made, yeah, there were cautionary tales. Well, a lot of people didn't want young people to have sex a lot. You know, abstinence was the thing back then. You know, drug free was the thing too. You know, I know, aside from hippies and stuff like that. But regular kids, you know, and the studios made that for regular kids. Again, there were cautionary tales. It was Red Riding Hood, just updated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like Right Hero is like changing the game. You know, different culture now, so it's changing the game, and it's funny because like
it's essentially like a horror movie for the modern audience.
So what I was gonna say that was funny is like all the kids are like having fun drinking, doing drugs. Well, not doing drugs, but like it's implied.
Yeah.
And you know, when Randy's explaining it, it's like no drinking, and then everyone boos, and then like no smoking, boo. And then no drugs, boo, and then no sex, boo, and then they're never attacked. They leave. Those kids leave. The one that was enforcing the rules, he gets stabbed.
Oh man.
He lives, but like, I mean, he got attacked, you know what I mean? Like, which I thought was pretty funny, you know? But yeah, like that, there's another example. Even though I said it as a kind of a joke, that's also an example, you know? It's broke tropes. It revolutionized everything. It set the standards, and everyone wanted to do Scream.
Yeah, and like some to either like a raving success or just it just fell flat.
I'll talk about both that kind of fell flat.
Uh-oh.
You know, there's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Well, I mean, we'll get over. Well, I mean, we'll get to that like soon. We will.
All right.
Look, we'll get to there like very soon. I promise you that.
You bought me lunch earlier, so whatever. But I'm gonna talk about urban legends then.
Okay, that's good.
All right. So, you know, both I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legends were a kind of response to Scream. Because they both kind of follow the general like idea. You know, it's a whodunit. No one knows who. It's a masked killer. No one knows who it is. It's nothing supernatural. You know what I mean? At least not yet for I Know What You Did Last Summer. Eventually it does. Never mind.
Yeah.
The point is
all in good time.
Yeah. So, you know, and urban legends really called out to me because I've always been into urban legends. I read like almost every one. The Bunnyman Bridge, The Body in a Mattress. I know there's more. The Hook, where like there's a couple making out, and then they hear on the radio that, you know, there's an escaped lunatic with a hook in hand, and eventually they leave, and the boyfriend sees the hook is hanging on the door handle. I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan of those creepy little campfire stories. And so I was really excited when I found out there was a movie based on them. You know, it's not bad. I still like the movie.
Would you consider like it to be like enjoyable?
For me, yeah. But I consider it a guilty pleasure.
Right. I mean? Like kind of like a it's so bad it's good kind of thing, or
yeah.
There we go.
So one of the issues I had, and why I think it's a bad movie, but I still like it, is you know, and I think it's the same problem I Know What You Did Last Summer has. It's like the villain doesn't look scary. You know what I mean? Like they're masked, But you know what their disguise is, Eric? It's, a huge parka with the hood up.
Oh, yeah. It's not exactly like that imaginative.
Exactly. Scream was creative because it took a goofy-looking costume and it made it scary.
Now, keep in mind, it's creative for its time.
Yeah, of course. But another problem I had was there's no real reason the killer's going after the main character, you know what I mean? So, spoilers. The general story of urban legends is like there's these college kids that for some reason are taking a folklore class. Like a class all about urban legends.
Yeah.
Which, why didn't our college have that class, Eric? Because, I would have taken it too.
Well, at least as far as I know, we have absolutely 0 openings.
Yeah. But it was a little too, self-aware for me. Now, don't get me wrong, the idea of that class sounds amazing. I would have taken that class.
It kind of does, actually, yeah.
Over and over and over again.
He'll fail on purpose just to take it again.
I'll fail on purpose, exactly. I'll fail again and again and again. Absolutely. That being said, though, it didn't kind of make sense for me that the main characters, the main group of friends, are taking that class. By the way, you know who the professor was?
Oh, God, who?
Freddy Krueger.
The actor. What the hell?
Which was one of the high points for me. I think that was amazing. I love that. I love that.
That's some cameo appearance.
Yeah, but that being said, again, it didn't make sense that they were into it. Urban legends are always going around. I know in high school we've heard urban legends.
Oh yeah, even back in middle school, we've also heard a lot of these things in the schoolyard.
Absolutely. So I feel like they should have just done it like that and have it oh, did you hear about so and so?
Or hey, did you hear about that one kid that fell in the ditch?
Yeah, exactly. Again, then a girl gets killed, one of the students, and the main character kind of has a tie with this girl.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out, again, spoiler, that they were best friends, but they accidentally killed somebody. But the other girl was driving, not the main character. So, there's that whole urban legend about how gang members will drive without their lights on, and then when you flash them to warn them, they pick you to kill you. You know what I mean? And they did that, but as a prank.
Mm-hmm. But it turned out to be.
So the guy was trying to lose him because he's afraid for his life, right? And eventually he loses control and he crashes and unfortunately loses his life. And then the main character tells her best friend yeah, I don't want to see you anymore. It's yeah.
Let's not talk to each other again.
But and it's it's her fault.
Mm-hmm.
But that girl dies in the very beginning. And then the rest of the movie is just the killer trying to get revenge on the main character, who again was not driving.
It's not his fault. The girl you wanted to kill is already dead.
That's the same problem that I Know What You Did Last Summer has, but I'm not going to get into it. It's the same situation. They weren't driving, so why are you torturing her? But that's kind of the only flaw I find. I mean, don't get me wrong, the whole movie's kind of cheesy, kind of,
It's pretty much what you expect, from a film of the 90s.
Yeah, but I love how that's one good thing, is I love that they utilize urban legends, the girl who ended up accidentally killing the guy.
Yeah.
The killer kills her by hiding in her, and that's the intro, that's the opening of the movie, where she stops at a gas station. There's this kind of slouched, kind of Igor. He's kind of Igor-ish, kind of goes like this. He talks with the stutter, and the girl immediately, she's red flags with this guy, and then the guy tries to get her out, right, and then she's already again red flag. It turns out he was only trying to warn her at the end, and then the act, because he saw the killer in her backseat, and it's stuff like that. They do good ways of incorporating their urban legends into the kills, basically, and I thought that was a good way. They did it well. Now I have a problem with some of the urban legends they used, because it's kind of hard to make that
right.
But I'll let it slide.
And with that, that's gonna do it like for 90s horror. Thank you for tuning in.
Wait, hold on. No, wait. What about I Know What You Did Last Summer?
If you no. Leave a like, comment, share,
hey,
all that jazz.
No, so
my name is Eric.
She wasn't driving, man.
It was tune in next time.
No. Nah, man, we're gonna talk about it right now, okay? Listen, no, you have to understand. You need to understand.
Look, we're running out of time right now.
It's worse than urban legend, man.
I understand.
It's based on a book. It's based on a book.
Look, I get that, but the thing is that...
Look, where do I begin? Oh, okay, so like, it's a whodunit too.
Okay.
But
look. You want to talk about it? You want to talk about it right now? All right.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to talk about it right now. All right.
Okay.
So I'll start us off, and then we'll continue. All right. So, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Mm-hmm.